Hello, welcome to the radio room. I got a Yaesu FT60 on the workbench today. A friend brought this in. He's wanting me to do the extended transmit modification to it. Just a disclaimer, if you're going to do this yourself, you take responsibility for any possible damage to the radio. And also, once you've done this, you are responsible for making sure that you operate the radio legally. It will operate outside of the amateur radio bands once you've done this. So you're doing so at your own risk and at your own responsibility for operating it. So let's go ahead and get into this thing and see if we can't do the modification to it. Let's go ahead and take the antenna off. And we're going to pull the knobs off. They might be on there pretty tight. So we might need just a little bit of persuasion. Just do it gently and they'll lift right off of there. Next, this radio has a little bit of moisture and dust protection on it, so there's little rubber O-rings that sit down in here. They stick up just a little bit. You just want to lift those out of there. Kind of note that they do kind of have a direction that they go in. Let's see, if I think you guys can probably kind of see the ridges that are kind of towards the bottom, and then it kind of has a flat spot up towards the top that the ridges go down. Next we want to, there's little nuts in there, need to be unscrewed. So I'm going to see if I can just do this with a screwdriver. Yep, got that one loose. I'm just sticking my screwdriver in the little slot there and loosening the nut. This one's a little bit tighter than the last one, but there it is. Oh, maybe I didn't get it quite yet. Yep, maybe I did. Yep, it's loose. So just need to unscrew that. It's kind of down in a recessed area there, so I'm using my tweezers to just kind of help me turn the nut. Can't quite grab it right now, but it is loose. There it is right there. It'll change the light here a little bit. See, there it is. Right there. Let's get the other one out now. Guess I don't have it quite unscrewed yet. Thought it was. another one. And it does not look like there's one around the antenna connector. So we also need to get the belt clip off. Throw some screwdrivers around while we're at it. There's 2 screws to get the belt clip off. You just go through the 2 little holes that are in the top of the belt clip, and it unscrews right out of there. Don't lose the screws. So we'll set that off to the side. Also going to remove the battery. One thing before I do go any further here. Once you do this, the radio is going to be reset. All the memories will be wiped. So make sure you write down your frequencies first. Your memories. If you programmed it with Chirp or the Yaesu programming software, make sure you got an image backup of the image or the file for the program. Back up the radio before you do this. Okay, so looks like there's 4 screws that we need to remove. Let's start with these 2 black ones at the top, and they are very small. Get something out here to put them in. And then we have 2 right here, the silver ones. You need to be careful with these. They have a very tiny Phillips slot in there, so I'm just using, make sure you got a screwdriver that fits in there nicely. Obviously you don't want to use one too big. This one actually might grab pretty good. That's a number 1. But a number 2, don't even try it. It's going to try and grab, but it's more than likely going to slip. You're going to mess up the Phillips slots in there, and you will never be able to use that screw again. Alright, so we've got the knobs off, we've got the rubber O-rings that were in there out, we've got the nuts out, we've got the 4 screws out, and the belt clip and the batteries removed. Go ahead and flip these up like you're going to plug something in, and you can rotate this about 90 degrees. That's going to keep these plugs out of the holes. And we just kind of pull back. And down. It's kind of wedged in there a little bit, so make sure you watch out for your battery connection. It will slide out. It just slides into little slots right here. And what's holding it in is the other half of the case. So you just want to work it up carefully. There is a rubber gasket right in here that you don't want to mess up. Once you kind of get it cleared, kind of lift and move the bottom of the radio down as far as the front case until you got the knobs removed. And then that's got the front case removed. Don't worry about speaker connections. It's got 2 little spring tabs in here that make contact with the speaker. Okay, so now we're down to the circuit board, and it is a tiny little spot that this is soldered into. I'm going to get a little bit more light on the subject, more for me. I'm hoping it's not going to wash out too much for y'all. And I'm going to take a look at this in just a moment. This is a very, very, very tiny resistor that needs to be removed. And we're going to make sure that we do it just the right way. We can use soldering iron, but it is a very, very tiny little spot to get in there. Lots of components nearby that need to that you don't want to damage. Not even sure if I'm going to be able to do this quite well on camera or not. Let me see if I can get this close enough without washing out. See if I can actually do this in the camera. Let me see if I'm still focused. Okay, so the tiny little resistor is right at the end of my tweezers right there. It's a millimeter and a half maybe long. It's not even probably a millimeter wide. That's got to come out. I'm going to get a little more light in here for me. I'm going to take a look at this. There's two ways to get this thing off of here. We could use a soldering iron. However, there's going to be a lot of heat in that area, and there is stuff that is a millimeter away that you don't want to get too hot. So there is another way to do it. Takes a little bit of work, but if you can find like tweezers or even like a razor blade or something, we're actually just going to kind of break the resistor off of the board. But make sure you got the right one. And it's already free. Or half free. One side's come loose. And it is off of there. And I can just about guarantee you we will never find it again. Oh, nope, actually it's still on there. I'm not even sure you guys are going to be able to see this. I'm going to have to... Okay, I'm not even sure you guys are going to be able to see this. That right there is that resistor. I'm not even saying you can't even see it in my tweezers. I don't even know how close I can get. You can just barely see it right there. That is tiny. I am going to set that off to the side. I got a post-it note here. It's got some sticky to it. So that's the resistor right there. If I can even get this to come in. There it is. There's that black spot. There's the resistor. Get you something something you can compare it to. So pin, end of a ballpoint pen. Just to give you an idea how small that is. And that is what it takes to do the modification. So that is done. That's really all you have to do this modification. And like I said, once you do this, you don't go back. So you're not going to put that back on there. There's just no way to get in there and put that back on there. So that's got it out of there. That's basically the modification. Now we just got to reassemble the radio. So, case. Just gonna wipe it down a little bit, get some dust out. This area is normally underneath the knobs, hard to clean up right there, so we'll just clean it off right there in spots that you normally can't get to. Alright. Okay, see this black part right here? This is that seal. We want to make sure we don't damage that, so I'm going to go ahead and make sure it's up where it belongs. Just right up against this, the black edge, the black ridge right there. Like that. Slide the knobs and the antenna connector through the top. Now we got to slowly work it up in there. Watching out for the little O-ring, which keeps trying to pop off. Slide the bottom in. Once you kind of get it going, it just goes right in. So now it's all the way in. Go ahead and flip that back. That's going to help hold that in while we're putting the screws back in. Silver screws at the bottom, towards the bottom of the radio. And we're going to be super tight, just snug them down a little bit. The tiny black screws that go at the top. These are just going into plastic right here, so just make sure you got the threads started in the threads and don't just start screwing in there. Most of y'all are probably kind of familiar with doing that, but when I'm going into plastic, or especially something I know that I don't want to mess up the threads, because it's more, it cuts its own threads if you're not careful. Instead of just turning, I actually turn it backwards, and you can feel it slip down into the edge of the thread, and then you can just start going forward, and it'll go right in there just about every time. Snug those down good. We'll go ahead and put our nuts on the volume squelch control, or I'm sorry, the dial and squelch control, and in the volume on off. Make sure you put the little slots that are in the nut right here. I'm sure you can see that, but make sure those are up, because that's how you're going to tighten it down. So just drop it on there. Sometimes these things are a little bit of a pain to get started, because until you catch the first thread, it's going to try and kind of tilt on you. So you just kind of don't try to push down on the nut. Just kind of spin it, let it kind of keep itself level until it catches a thread, and then you're good to go. let's just kind of snug down with the tweezers. Slot up. Stick it down on there. Just kind of start spinning it around. See if it'll catch a thread. And it did. So now we just need to get it tightened down. Just using the tweezers in the slot there to spin it around. There's 2 slots, so make a half turn and grab the next one. I'm just going to take my really tiny screwdriver and snug those down. Alright, and then we'll put our rubber seals back in. Remember, the ridges kind of go towards the down. Just snug it down in there. They don't fit super tight. They're tight enough. Put our squelch knob back on. It does have an indicator, so I'm going to make sure I am all the way counterclockwise. Normally off or minimum value is kind of pointing this way. There's actually a little dot right there. Let me see if maybe I need some more light here so you guys can see that little dot. You can just see that little dot right there. That's on the volume, but I'm assuming that the squelch control little nub needs to fit that way too. So I have the squelch turned all the way down because I could technically put this on backwards. I don't want to do that. Oh, see, that's going to line up just about perfect. That's all the way down. This one is keyed just one way, so it doesn't really matter. You can't put it on wrong. If you try to, it's not going on. So that's on. The volume's off. This is a splined one. It does look like, however, it's got kind of a flat side right there. And there is a flat side kind of inside the knob. So I'm just going to line those flat sides up. And it points right at that pointer. Now, we missed something. The battery clip. So we've got to take these back out. I just missed the whole thing. See, if you don't remember that, you got to take the radio apart again. But we know how to do that. Working on radios isn't always like working on cars. Spare parts aren't good. So we will just do this really quick. See how fast we can take it back apart, since we've already done it once. going to do that just enough to get this back in here. And put it back together. Bring this nut back down. Snug it down. This one snug down. Alright. Once again, rubber washers, rubber seals, whatever you want to call them. Squelch knob. Selector knob. Volume knob. Put that back in. Let's put the battery back in. Put in. And we're going to put the belt clip back in. I'm going to drop these screws down in here. This always gets a little fun, mostly because you really can't get your fingers in where these screws go, and the belt clip has pressure against the back of the radio. You could also, I guess, do this with the battery off. That one just fell through. So it's mostly just getting it started sometimes. I just usually hold it back a little bit. Sometimes it'll let the screw kind of pivot in the hole to get straight with the threads. Yeah, it looks like we got it right in there pretty easy. Just snug that down. It'll kind of spring the belt clip against the back. Just make sure that's nice and snug. Nice and snug. Put the antenna back on. Turn the radio on. It's always a good sign. And if you'll notice, it's reset to 430, so I'm going to put in a frequency. Probably not going to be able to hit that one. Let me try this one. see, repeater plus squelch type tone and right tone. And it does work. So now we just need to test, does it work out of band? And for that, if you'll give me just a moment, I'm not going to literally transmit out of band. I'll turn this radio off. I'm going to pause the video for just a few minutes. We get a dummy load to hook up to this. So we're not really transmitting into the open air, but we'll check to make sure it's working out of band and actually transmitting. So we'll be back in just a second. Alright, we're back. Got the radio hooked up to a dummy load real quick so we can do this test. Turn the radio on. Now we're at 451.225, which is out of band. I'm also going to turn the, make sure the power, whoops, is down low. Which might take a little bit more than, oh, okay. Have it on low power. And we'll get out of that and we'll test to make sure it's working. And it is transmitting right there. So let's go up a little bit higher. Apparently that's a data frequency for something. We are into a another data frequency. We are in a into a dummy load, so that is good. Let's get up in here into we're at 460s here, and we do have transmit. So we do have the expanded transmit. So let me go ahead and unhook the dummy load. Get it out of the way. Get the antenna back onto it. And let's get it back into a ham band. Squelch is working good. Volume's working good. Selector's working good. This radio's complete. It's got the expanded transmit modification done to it, also called the Mars Cat mod. So it's ready to go back to its owner. And once again, like I said, I'll reiterate, it's your responsibility to operate the radio legally according to the license that you have. It's marketed as an amateur radio transceiver, so you're responsible for operating it correctly. Once it's been expanded, this thing will transmit pretty much wherever it'll receive. So be very careful where you're at on that. Well, thanks for dropping by and going through this, hopefully not too long of a video. A little longer than originally anticipated because, I just don't have spare parts. Had to take the radio back apart a little bit real quick to put that back in. But there it is, Yaesu FT60, Mars Cat mod, or transmit extended transmit mod, however you want to call it. Thanks for stopping by. Bye for now.